I want to say good afternoon, Ace. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, bro. I'm good, man. I'm good. Happy to be here. Happy to be alive.
You hear a lot, man. I keep seeing you popping up and down in London
Yeah.
quite a fair bit. Do you, Firstly, do you think it's important for you to travel more? Because some artists just stay in the States and
Yeah.
don't actually even get on a plane anywhere. But you've taken it upon yourself to make sure you touch Europe.
Yeah. I want to travel the world though, because I just want to see people, see different cultures, you know what I'm saying, and just really touch the people for real. Like I want to be known globally, you know what I mean, and be able to do world tours and stuff like that. And I know in order for me to do that, I gotta travel and move around and touch people and go outside of the place that I grew up in the States and stuff like that. And I love it over here too. Same token, somebody asked me the other day, was I gonna get a crib in London? Because I seem to be in London a lot. But uh, I love it, man. I love it. I want to get my music everywhere, you know.
When you were in the music industry, what kind of things did you learn about the music business that isn't always obvious to an artist?
I think you got to understand and really differentiate, who's your friend, who's really in it with you, who's in it for you, you know what I mean? Like, who has your best interest. Um, Also, I think, which is kind of obvious, but isn't obvious, is that you need to learn the business. You know what I'm saying? That's really the key thing. I know people preach it a lot, but it's important that an artist learn their business and everything attached to it, so they can kind of, move forward with just good energy, and they can just kind of focus on the music. Um, so yeah, that's what I would say.
When you say the business, is that more so splits, royalties, accountants, lawyers? I mean, what part of the business do you reckon it covers?
I mean that part. Yeah, that part when it comes to splits and knowing budgets and knowing what's really happening contractually with your situation, you know, really what you agreeing to. You know what I mean? Main thing, what am I agreeing to? You know what I'm saying? What's my end of the bargain more so? You know what I'm saying? And can I uphold my end of the bargain? So yeah, you just got to know your stuff. You got to know and just really pay attention. You know what I'm saying? You meet, I think this industry also can be superficial. So you got to be mindful of that too, very much so. And I learned that moving through, people will call you friends and brothers and help you out. And then, you might get in a situation to where you need them, or, things aren't like they were, you know what I mean? And you just kind of really see true faces of people. So just kind of be mindful of that, and kind of just keep solid people, good people, genuine people, not yes men, people who gonna really give you vital information around you. So yeah.
Adding to that, a couple of my friends, they're entertainment lawyers, and they'll tell me off the record, they'll be like, look, we're doing deals for the artists, but our relationship's really with the labels.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So it's because they're doing more business with the labels than they are with one artist. And I remember Yo Gotti was saying to me, he's like, when you deal with lawyers, you got to know who that lawyer, what their actual affiliations are, because you may think he's doing something for you, but he's really.
But he's really in. Yeah, it's always like that, and that's the thing. Is basically the sum of what I'm saying. People do stuff that's beneficial for them. It might look like it's in your best interest, but they're looking out for their best interest mainly over your interest, which means that I need to do this. I'm gonna make sure this relationship lives. You know what I mean? So I like you as a client, and I think you cool, and we can do some great things. But this relationship is really where the money is, and really where the power is. So it's that thing. You know what I'm saying? So you got to know who they affiliated with, who they work with. You know what I mean? You got to call people and know, are they good? What type of person are they? Who they working with? That type of shit. So, cause it's a huge circle for real. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to entertainment and lawyers and stuff like that, they know each other. This lawyer over here, might know a lawyer in New York who connected to this, and might be connected to the lawyer that I know, and then it's all a big circle at the end of the day, and it spins back around. You know what I'm saying? So you just got to get somebody that's fighting for you, bro.
Do you think the same is to be said with accountants? Because it's literally from the outside, and because I used to be an accountant myself, so I was like, how are all these rappers getting got? Do you know what I mean? I remember, in fact, Joe was talking about his situation. You look at all the rappers, and it's not about making money, it's always like there's a tax issue.
Mm-hmm.
That's another part of the game that is almost never really explained to up and coming artists, because you can almost see it come like in a couple of years. He's hot now, but there's gonna be
issues with that tax, yeah. Because I think that, like, for the most part, when you kind of get money and you're not used to having money, and you know, you kind of come from a place of where you probably never been involved. Majority of the artists haven't been to college. I'm one of them artists, you know, that kind of just got my success at a younger age. So it's a lot that I didn't know, and it's a lot that these other artists don't know. But one thing is for certain is that Uncle Sam will get that bag out of you, most certainly. You know what I'm saying? And I think sometimes you might get a feeling to where you feel invincible, where you feel like the money won't stop, you know, and it's gonna keep coming forever. And you at some point can go ahead and pay them off until things ain't the same, and then they asking for, you know what I mean, $500,000, you ain't got it. It's like, you gotta pay them people frequently, man. Figure out some type of situation, because that's important. That's as important as like life, and you know, that goes in the bracket of raising your children and all that shit. In my mind, like, you got to, because it's important. Because if not, you know, you be stripped of everything. Nobody don't want that. It's embarrassing. And not only that, like, it's the mentality too of some people, you know, especially with our culture, like the black community. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't want to give their money to the quote unquote white man. You know what I'm saying? So it's always like, you know, they got this thing of, oh, I got to give me, you know, who wants to make $1 million and have to, you know, pay $100,000 in taxes, or $100,000, you got to give $100,000 back. So most of them think like, you know, but it comes back to haunt you though, you know. So it's just part of the game though. It's just one of the things you have to accept. You know what I mean? Like my bro says, it's like certain things you just got to factor out. Like, you know, you kind of have a checklist and you're like, all right, IRS got to be paid. Ain't no way out of that. So take that and just, it is what it is, and live with that. You know what I'm saying? So,
you know, when you first quote unquote got on, what's the first thing that kind of changed? Because the transition from aspiring artist to a hit, what's that transitional period like? What changes?
You can literally be in a place in your life to where it's like you're dormant. You know what I'm saying? And like life is kind of like at a very steady level. You know what I'm saying, for you. But the moment the moment you get a hit, or the moment you get like a record, is the moment like things start happening rapidly fast. You know what I'm saying? Like life comes at you fast, traveling, bookings, everything. It's just, you know, your demand. People want you. People want to see you. People want to talk to you. People want to like be around you. Women want to, you know, vibe with you. It's like all this type of stuff. So it literally happens like day and night for real. Like that's a real thing. You know what I'm saying? So you can literally 3 months be in a very tough situation to next day, like you living all your dreams. You in the store spending $4,000-5,000 and riding nice whips and cars and stuff, and just doing the things that you dream to do. So it is like running 200 miles an hour. You know what I'm saying?
On your latest project, Life After, I think that kind of segues a bit to like, I won't say the lifestyle, but talk to us a bit about Life After, because I think lyrically it was just phenomenal. But for those who may not have heard it, what were you trying to say within that track?
Life After was just my place of where I am, like currently. You know what I'm saying? Like throughout like all the madness, right? And it's also explaining kind of like I've embarked on a new journey, and the place that I'm going, everybody can't travel there. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, where were you? You know what I mean? Where were you when I was young and I had my apple juice and I was trying to figure my life out? You know what I'm saying? Kind of like that thing, like, and just kind of giving my perspective of just how life is good. You know what I'm saying? And life is blessed for us. You know what I'm saying? And Life After is just life after. It's me putting my situation behind me completely and saying, man, you know what? This is very forward energy. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Yeah, I think my next favorite track is probably the opener, To Whom It May Concern. Really introspective. Lyrically, can you quote some of like, I'll say some of your favorite bars within that track? Because it's a very layered record.
Yeah.
You know? So if you can share a bit about that, that'd be awesome.
Some of my favorite lines. One of my favorite lines in there is a part of me had to die, so a part of me gets to live. That probably has to be, I could like, you know, that record's so powerful, man. At any given moment, me performing that record, I could get emotional about it just because of like, that's just, it solidifies it all for me. You know what I'm saying? And I think that line, "A part of me had to die," was just me stripping myself completely to really focus on like what really mattered to me. You know what I'm saying? Because I think I had to strip the ego and the pride and all that away and kind of put it in the box and say, all right, what makes you happy? You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to kind of redo this thing, and we got to, you know, identify who you are. So it took a lot of soul searching. That's what "To Whom It May Concern." It's just like to whoever it applies to, you know what I mean? That's kind of going through that state of mind or in this place of where they just like, man, I got to rebuild my shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like a letter to me, really. You know what I'm saying? So as much as I thought that I wrote it for like everybody, it's kind of like just, you know, anytime you deal with a therapist or whatever, they always tell you to like write your thoughts, your emotions, and your feelings. So I do that a lot of just like, yo, I feel sad, I feel down today, I feel bad today. So that's what "To Whom It May Concern" was to me, was just me writing a letter to myself that, yo, Ace, you survived it, you're over it. Thank God, you know, that you've been able to overcome this. Now it's time to move forward. And it's just all prosperity energy, prosperous energy. So
Is it, when you're in that type of, obviously you're reflecting in that track, but in real time, is it easy to get lost in the whole smoke and mirrors, the gas, the bright lights of the industry?
yeah, certainly. Because, you know, you got, one thing about it is like when you hide and you got all these great records and people love you, is that everybody is validating your greatness, constantly validating your greatness, constantly. So that boosts your ego. That's like putting gas in your tank and more, right? So it fuels you. So at some point you become invincible. At some point you become a different human being than you were before. You know, so it's just, you know, being able to like strip the validations and know that they very much so live with me, but to be able to push through all the great shit that the fans say, oh, he's a GOAT, he's a legend, and he's this and he's that, and it's just able to say, all right, you know, we just have to keep working and keep, you know, just really inspiring and like never taking credit for it, just really just moving forward. But being around that shit, you can get gas and you can lose yourself, you know, and I think a part of me was on the verge of like becoming something else. And like when I started seeing that is when I made the choice. I'm like, you know what, this isn't fully me. This isn't fully who I want to be. This isn't fully what I want to say. So how about I take a chance? You know what I mean? How about I just go for it? You know, cut my own cord, you know, strip it down, rebuild it, rejuvenate it the way I want it to look, and plug it back in. So that's what it was for me, to disconnect and then connect it back.
So did you personally acknowledge that, or did people around you just say like, hey, bruh, you're moving a bit sideways now? Like,
I got all that, man. People thought I was crazy. People still think I'm crazy, you know what I'm saying? But it's my life. I got to do what's best for me. And, you know, I'm just not willing to compromise, because I don't want to look 10, 15 years later. You know, people might have had success and all this other stuff, but you might be unhappy for real in real life. You know what I mean? Why you have so much money, cars and everything, but you're unhappy? What's allowing you to be unhappy for real? You know what I'm saying? So everybody thought I was crazy, and like, oh, why you doing this and why you doing that? But you got a situation that's solidified, but you got these records and blah, blah, blah. It didn't matter to me. It didn't matter at that point. It mattered, of course it mattered, you know, but, you know, just like wants and needs and just what made me happy, dog. You know what I'm saying? So I just pushed past all that shit. Sometimes I doubted myself. Sometimes I bought into the idea of like, man, I might have fucked up. I bought into that idea before. But then I had to work my way through it and say, nah, you made the right decision for yourself and for your team, for your family. So
you have a lot of God references in your track. That's something that a lot of rappers don't really put in their music. Why do you feel to incorporate some of those references in your music?
Be specific if you can.
Is it on
a little bit more specific?
Play to Win. Yeah, a couple of God references on there. You know, just acknowledging God. You know.
I think that you know, I think for what I've been able to do, and like I don't know, man. I think somehow, I don't know how it happens, but I always like land on my feet, and I always push through, and I always like come out on top. You know what I mean? So for me, it's just being able to acknowledge the reason why I'm able to do that and never forget that. You know what I'm saying? It's the same way that I look at that. It's the same way that I look at the situation that I was in. It's just like me being grateful for that journey and for what we've been able to do and like, you know, stuff like that. So it's like acknowledging the fact that you brought me through this. You know what I mean? I don't know how I did it. Sometimes I'm like, yo, did I and did this, and then I'm doing like, you know. So it's just I just choose to acknowledge it, you know, because it's the truth. You know what I'm saying? Like he does wonderful things that I could never explain, but I'm always give him the glory as much as I can. Like not trying to be over preachy with it or nothing like that, but just let people know he real.
And
higher power is real.
And you see this as like your most proud. Would you say this is your most proud piece of work to date?
Yes, certainly I do. Certainly, because it's all me. I orchestrated it all. It's like me and my team of guys. You know, we put this project together. We did this. You know what I'm saying? So for me, and it's everything that I wanted to say. You know what I mean? At that particular time, like there's so much more that I'm gonna say, like, you know, within the next work that people are gonna get. But for me, I covered a lot of bases, and that was important to me. And I felt like people understood what it was that I was trying to say and come across. So this is one of my most amazing projects to date. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And kind of rounding up, when you look at the way the music industry is, do you feel there's a place for artists like yourself independently to still get back to where they were when they were like in a situation before?
Right.
I mean, do you feel like with streaming and all these things that's leveling stuff out, that it's a level playing field now? Or do you feel like it's still like weighed heavily for the majors?
No, I think that it's a very thriving time for independent artists. You know what I'm saying? For be able to do it on your own. I think that it's a lot more money in it for independent artists. You know what I'm saying? To be able to thrive. I think there's a place for everything. I think there's a place for that you know, mainstream stuff, and there's also a place for, you know, artists with dope content, great music and stuff like that. Cause it's a lot of artists that ain't so mainstream that still selling out 5, 6, 7, 8,000, you know, venues and stuff like that. You know, so either like I'm not closing myself off to any lane. You know what I'm saying? Like my streaming sales are still doing very extremely well. Yeah, so my streaming is doing phenomenal. You know, and you know, and I've been away for a while. So at this point, for me as an independent artist, it's just about giving you guys more of this great content. And as long as I give the fans and my people more of this great content, the more that they fall in love with my sound and the more that it grows. And I not only nourish my, you know, my fan base that's been there with me, but now I'm nourishing like this whole new fan base that's supporting me now, and that's on the bandwagon of like, yo, we rock with Ace Hood. You know, we weren't a fan at some point, but now we locked in with him. So me, you know, I'm working on my own timeline right now. There is no stress. Ain't no label barking down my neck about doing this and doing that. I know it needs to be done, and it's just all about execution now.